If you're experiencing any left hand wrist pain from playing the guitar, I want to help you out so that that pain stops. Even if you're not having any wrist pain, it's very important to be aware of proper guitar technique. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 3 most common mistakes that guitar players make and how to fix them so that that left hand wrist pain stops. Have you ever experienced any wrist pain from playing the guitar? If you have, please comment below and tell us about it. Now, I've had students come to me and say things like, my wrist hurts, my left hand hurts. And very often that turns into, I've got to go see a doctor, and then I have carpal tunnel syndrome. And that's really terrible because you've got to take time off, and it's very frightening, to be honest, because you don't know when it's going to go away, and we all want to play the guitar. So if you're having any pain right now, what I want you to do is just stop playing and go see a doctor. I am not a medical professional, but rest is the most important thing if you have any kind of a strain. And by the way, I once messed up my wrist. Stick around and I'll tell you the story of how I did that and how I fixed it. Mistake number 1, incorrect wrist position. You have to be watchful of your wrist position as you play. Do this with me right now. Why don't you point your arm straight up to the ceiling, let your fingers relax so they're slightly curved, and just do this experiment with me. So bend your hand backwards as if you were a waiter in a restaurant carrying a tray. Yeah. This position is called extension. Now, try to wiggle your fingers. You're going to see that's pretty hard to do. You see, you got tendons in your arm that are trying to make it around this bend right here, and it just causes a whole lot of strain. So extension is a pretty bad position to be in. Let's look at the other extreme. Put your hand up so it's perpendicular to the ceiling and floor, and let your whole wrist come forward. Okay, that's called flexion. And if you try to move your fingers, you're going to see again, that's rather uncomfortable because the tendons are trying to make it around this extreme curve. And that happens a lot when people start learning how to play bar chords. You got to be on the lookout for that. Sometimes that's resolved by simply getting the guitar up higher. You see how getting it up higher reduces a bend in the wrist? The correct position is pretty much straight so that the back of the hand is more or less in line with your forearm. Even if I'm sitting with the guitar relatively low, like this, you will see that the wrist and the back of the hand are relatively straight. So what's the fix here? First, the fix is that you now know and you're aware of this. And what I can suggest to you is practice in front of a mirror. As you're playing, eyeball your left hand. Make sure you're playing with proper wrist position. Hey, sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to let you know real quick, in case you want to really take your guitar playing to the next level and take lessons with me directly, you can check out studywithadam.com free for 14 days. There's all sorts of cool stuff in there that's exclusive content, lessons for my solo arrangements, improvisation lessons, a great community. Plus, you can even upload videos and I'll watch them. So be sure to check it out. It's free for 14 days, studywithadam.com. Okay, let's go back to the lesson. Mistake number 2, squeezing the neck way too hard. Okay, I've seen this at some guitar workshops where I've taught. There'll be a student squeezing with this grip of death, and as they open their hand, I look at the tips of the fingers, and there are these permanent ridges and torn up skin on the fingertips, these serious calluses. I have almost no calluses on my left hand fingertips. There maybe a little bit, but squeezing harder is not the solution. The reason you're squeezing harder is because you're hearing a buzz. and you want that buzz to go away. Okay, so check this out. If I'm playing in the 3rd fret, but I have space between my finger and the fret, that's going to buzz. But if I get right up behind the fret, see that? I'm right behind it. The buzz goes away. That buzzes, that doesn't. Mistake number 3, the mental game. Okay, so what do I mean by this? We all want to be great guitar players, and sometimes we think, man, I'm really going to practice. I'm going to practice this until I get it, and I'm going to practice for hours and hours and hours. And that can be a mistake because the mind starts leading the way and doesn't listen to the body. So it's very important to stay with your body. I can tell you what I do. I practice for 20 minutes and then I take 10 or 15 minutes off. The overuse of small muscles and the wearing it out and getting overtired is serious business. So just take breaks and feel. How does this feel? Do I feel good? Does this feel right? I feel good. You know what I'm saying? Earlier in the video, I mentioned to you that I had a story where I hurt my wrist, and I want to tell you why that happened. It was this mental game. Okay, I've been playing guitar my whole life, but I became obsessed with wanting to play with a thumb pick. And so you would think, well, I overdid it and hurt my thumb. No, the thumb wasn't the problem. The problem was I held an A minor chord for about an hour one day and was just playing and playing and playing over here and not paying attention. Your hand is not meant to clamp down on something, or my hand isn't, for an hour. And the next day I woke up with all sorts of pain and everything, and I knew what I had done. And I said, I was letting the head lead the way and not listening to the body. So you want to vary the movements that you're doing. Don't do one movement over and over again. And you want to take breaks. And by the way, if you've ever struggled with bar chords, check out the video on 5 secret tips to make bar chords easy. I'll see you in the next video.